Right, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rakahudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well. Shalom to Akim, teaching this word around the globe in faith and truth and in sincerity. This is I'm the brother Caleb from the GMS London Forecasters Camp, coming back at you with another lesson to, Lord willing, feed the hopeful elect. As always, I like to start by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites. The real Israelites, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, and West Africans predominantly. However, you are going to get Israelites that do look like the other 17 nations because Israel has been scattered amongst all people throughout our various captivities. But if your seed line by your forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible that was named Israel, then you too are an Israelite, no matter what you may look like, because the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 18 states that your nationality is determined by the lineage of your forefathers. So, I'm going to go in the spirit here. I had a topic that I wanted to speak on in mind, but before I get into that, I just want to touch on something briefly because I just saw about 4 chariots just maybe 10 minutes ago or so, because basically I just had to go to the shop at the end of my road to pick something up. Just a very short journey, and let me give the full testimony so you can hopefully be edifying. But basically, what happened is today. Now I know we're not supposed to say this because when we fast, we're supposed to keep it a secret. But I'm just going to say this for the sake of this little testimony story. So basically, today I've been on a fast, just a regular 24-hour fast. Started at midnight last night, roughly, but thereabouts, and so I've been fasting today. It's been cool, no problem. But I just had to go to the shop at the end of my road to pick something up briefly. And so I, got my keys, got my coat, opened the front door. And as soon as I opened the front door, literally as soon as I opened the front door, I looked up in the sky and I saw a chariot very high in the distance flying across the sky from my right to my left. And I was like, oh shit, a chariot, man. And I was there trying to, scrambling, trying to find my phone so I could do a quick video of it. And it's one of them situations where, you're looking through every pocket, you can't find it. Then eventually I did find the phone, started trying to film it, but it was so high up that the camera wasn't really picking it up very well. So I just had to say, you know what, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatha for allowing me to see this. But I couldn't record it because it was too distant. So in the spirit, I just said to myself, hey, you know what, man? Maybe the Lord didn't want anybody else to see that. Maybe he just sent that as a small sign to you to boost your faith. So I thought nothing more of it because, we see chariots quite frequently, especially now in one of the camp locations where we're teaching. But I'll get onto that in a minute. So basically, I put the camera away, walked to the end of the road, went to the shop, picked up what I needed to pick up. And I was carrying an item in my hand, so I was walking back home. And as I'm walking, I'm looking in the sky, and I see yet another chariot flying towards me, and coming towards me slowly, but again very, very high up. So it's flying higher than the altitude of regular planes, just these little dots in the sky just moving. So I thought, oh shit, another chariot. So again, trying to find my phone, ends up dropping the stuff I was holding about 3 times. Eventually found my phone, started trying to film it. Now I've got the video on my phone at the moment. I haven't uploaded it yet, but Lord willing, I'll upload it. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to see very much, but the fact of the matter is that I saw that chariot and I saw 2 more. And they're all moving very slowly, but all very high up in the sky. So I was like, all praise to the Most High, man. So that's 4 chariots I saw in the space of 10 minutes. Now, this is really interesting because what I've noticed through the spirit is that I'm seeing these chariots more and more and more. Like, for example, let me give an example. When I was a little boy, you hear stories about shooting stars and how if you see a shooting star and you wish on it, your wish will be, come true or some bullshit. The shit you hear when you're a child. So I was always looking out for shooting stars. A shooting star is essentially a chariot because the stars are stationary, but the chariots move, but they look like stars depending on, how high up they may be. I never used to see them at all, although I was always looking for them when I was a child. But yet, now we're in 2021 and I'm seeing them, maybe I'd say 60 to 70% of the times when I go out. If I was to count the amount of times we see them at the camp spot we're at, because it's in a bit of a forested area, we're seeing them pretty much every week. And we're seeing them the way I described. I saw the one today. These very, very, very tiny dots high up in the sky moving, you know, and just seeing them more and more and more. Now, I want to get a precept to go with that. Lift up your heads for your redemption draweth nigh. Let me get that. Bear me a second. Yeah, Luke 21 and 28 is what I want. This is Luke chapter 21 and verse 28, and it says, and when all these things come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So basically, we're seeing all the prophecies coming to pass. The prophecies spoken of in 2nd Ezra the 9th chapter, 2nd Ezra the 15th chapter, Matthew 24. You know, we're seeing all these things, the earthquakes, the uproars of the people. You know, we're seeing all this stuff, pestilences, famines. We're seeing all these things, wars, rumors of wars. And now is the time for us to lift up our heads, for our redemption draweth nigh. So it was a beautiful thing to see those chariots, man, because anytime you see a chariot, it's supposed to be a faith booster. But to see so many in such a short space of time, and also the fact that I'm seeing them practically every week at one of the camp spots I'm teaching at, it's just beautiful, man. Even like, say, for example, compared to, say, 2017, 2018, 2019, yeah, I saw chariots, and I saw some incredible chariots, which, Lord willing, I'll do a video on that. I mean, I've already done a video on that sighting, but I'll do another one. Yeah, we're just seeing them more and more. So it shows us that, you know, we're ever the more closer to the end of Esau society and the return of our Lord Yahweh HaMashiach, who is the one that the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. So that's enough about the chariots for now. I'm going to get onto the main topic of what I want to talk about, and it's basically following on from the lesson I did last week, going into the fact that there's spirits working on people, and that spirits can recognize us if we're of the hopeful elect and if we're in this truth. Now, it's so funny because I must have done that video, was it last Thursday or last Friday? And I go to camp on Saturday and Sunday, and at two different locations. But on Sunday, the words that I'd spoken a few days before literally came to pass, because we had a situation break out at the camp. Now, it's funny because the scriptures say that we're supposed to present our bodies as a living sacrifice. Let me get that one. Yeah, Romans 12 and 1. It's lucky, bury me. This is Romans the 12th chapter and the first verse. It says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. Let me read this one more time, because I'm going to make a point on this. It says, Romans 12:1, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. Now, you can't read these scriptures lightly, man. You can't just read the Bible and be like, oh yeah, that's that, and just go about your business. You need to meditate on these things, because the Lord expects us to present our bodies as a living sacrifice, which means that every time you go to the camp and you're doing this work, you are essentially putting your life on the line, because there's spirits out there created for vengeance. Let me get this one. Bear with me. Yes, this is Sirach 39th chapter and the 28th verse. Yeah, this is Sirach chapter 39 verse 28, and it says, there be spirits which are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In a time of destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Read that again. Sirach 29 verse 28, it says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Now that scripture proves that Yahweh, the Most High, the God of the Bible, controls both good and evil. Because it says, there are spirits created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes and appeased the wrath of him that made them. Meaning that Yahweh is the father of spirits, so he made these evil spirits, just in the same way he made righteous spirits. There's two sides, the left hand and the right hand, the good and the bad. Now I'm saying that to say, when you're at the camp, you don't know if today's going to be your last day on the earth, because the Most High may require your spirit this day. You know, so when you're at the camp, you can't take it lightly. It is a life or death thing. But this is our reasonable service. We've got to be out there on the front lines to wake up our people. That's our reasonable service. Now, the fact of the matter is, I'm saying this because last week I was talking about how spirits recognize you, and it's best to sort of not try and... if you know someone's a demon, they've come up to the camp before, they've been cursed out, I was saying it's best to just leave them alone. Don't try and push the issue. If you see them again, just ignore them. Probably best not to make eye contact with them, because you don't want to give them any opportunity to come up and start shit. You know, and what is it? Proverbs 22 and 3, is it? I was reading. Let me try and see if I was reading that. Proverbs 22 verse 3. Yeah, Proverbs 22 verse 3 is the point I was making in the last lesson. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So that was the point of that lesson. Now, the reason why I'm giving a bit of a back refreshing what I was talking about is because at the camp on Sunday, we're teaching in a location which is very wicked. Very wicked. There's a lot of wicked ass people up in that place, and they don't want to hear the word of the Most High. And basically we was at the camp, we were teaching, and a guy came up. Now the guy looked like an Edomite. He may have been an Edomite, he may have been the Jake, I don't know, because he said his family goes back to Ireland, so he was a so-called Irishman, and we know that a lot of Jakes were in Ireland, so to speak, Slovakia. But the fact of the matter is, he came up and he was asking some questions. Now, he wasn't really scoffing. He was just asking questions. And obviously his understanding was very limited, but he was asking questions. He seemed sincere, but he was also drunk. He admitted that, you know, I'm a little bit drunk, lads, you know. But he was being, you know, he wasn't being threatening or violent or anything like that. So he was dealing peaceably. So he was dealing with him peaceably and answering his questions. Now, now the elder was speaking, and I was obviously reading and, you know, watching out. And as the elder was dealing with this guy who's speaking to him, you know, breaking things down, I noticed the guy walk up across, and then he came and stood at the right hand side of the camp, and he had this scowling face, like, and he was smoking. He was like, and I looked at him and I thought, I kept my eye on him, because I noticed that he was standing near the camera where we were filming and stuff. And obviously it's my camera, so I don't want it to get stolen. So I had my eye on him. I was watching him. Now this Irish guy was still, you know, asking questions to the elder. And the elder was dealing with him, and he was, you know, reasoning with the guy. I noticed this demon who came up and stood on the right of us. He then came round to the front, and he was looking at all of us. And then he looked at the guy, the Irish guy who was in the crowd asking the questions. And he sort of set his attention on him. And then he goes up to the guy, and he immediately tries to get him into a headlock. And I knew this was going to happen. Through the spirit, you kind of see things. So he tries to get the Irish guy in a headlock. And the Irish guy goes, no, don't do that, don't do that. And then the demon guy, I think he tries to throw a punch at the Irish guy. He goes, no, don't do that. So the Irish guy puts up his dukes, and he starts trying to fight back. And a fist fighting ensued. Now, we're watching this, and obviously we're spiritual men. You know, we're commanded to be as wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And, you know, we're really not out there to be getting into street fights and, you know, getting carnal with people, because we're supposed to be spiritual men. Our weapons of warfare are not carnal. Oh, let me get this. Is it free? Let me get it. Hold on. Yeah, 2 Corinthians 10 and verse 4. Alright, this is 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter and the 4th verse. Let me start from verse 3, actually. No, let me start from verse 1. Good stuff. 2 Corinthians 10 and verse 1. Now I, Paul, myself beseech you, by the meekness and gentleness of Hamashiach, who in presence am base among you, but being absent am bold towards you. But I beseech you, brethren, but I beseech you that I may not be bold when I am present with that confidence, wherewith to think to be bold against some which think of us as if we walked according to the flesh. I should have started from verse 3. 2 Corinthians 10 and 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach. You know, so the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. So there we are, we're watching this thing break out. And I think all of us could see through the spirit this was going to go down. So then the street fight ensues, and we stood there. And in my mind, I thought to myself, shall I help that guy? And I thought, no, it's not wise to get involved, because that's not my fight. It's not my fight. It's not any of our fight. We're just there to teach the word. We're not there to flip in, try and suplex people and give people backbreakers and be rolling on the floor like some sort of MMA fighter in the street. No. 2 Corinthians 10, verse 3, verses 4 stated that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Read it again. For the weapons of our for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach. So we all held our line. And we saw these two grown men street fighting it out, World Warrior style. And basically the Irish guy who was asking the questions got struck a couple times in the face, and he went down to his knees, which was a bad move. When you're in a street fight, the last thing you want to do is be going on your knees. And if you do go on your knees, keep your guard up, man. So he was knocked on his knees. And then the demon guy who was smoking with a scowling face, for no reason to attack anybody, but it was all through the spirit. You might as well have heard flipping, like, you know, in Mortal Kombat, when you're about to finish someone, it says, finish him. Someone might as well have shouted out that, you know, finish him. And basically this demon guy reeled his right leg back, and then unleashed a football over here. In America, you call it soccer. A soccer-style kick to the Irish guy's head and caught him right in the face. Guy fell down and was out. Blood all over his face. Dude was out. And then the demon turns around and walks off into the crowd. Now, by this time, a lot of people were watching. And the Irish guy was on the floor, laid out, blood pouring out his head. And we just observed this because we know the judgment of the Most High works every day, every hour of every minute of every second of every day. Yahweh's judgment is going out. So that man who got bust up by the demon, this might be hard for people in the world to understand, but that was the judgment from the Most High. So I'm going to get Matthew 6 for a second to put this into context. It wasn't a pleasant thing to see. It's not the kind of thing I wanted to see. I didn't wish no evil on that dude. But the scriptures say this. Yeah. Matthew 6 and verse 7. But when ye pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathen do, for they think that they should be heard for their much speaking. Be ye not therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask him. Here's the point. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is on heaven. Let me read that again. Matthew 7 and 10. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So, now I'm going to keep reading because there's some, no, I'll get back in. Let me make the point now. I'll read some more. The reason why I'm reading that is because the scriptures say, thy will be done, not my will be done. So basically, two grown men break out into a fist fight in front of you. The spirits on those men are making them fight, yeah? And as I said before, there would be spirits created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes and appeased the will of him that made them. It's like it is spirits. So, if we was to jump into this street fight, we'd be going against the will of the Heavenly Father. Because it was the will of the Heavenly Father to bring judgment upon that man. For whatever reason, I don't know. For this sins he's done in this life or in the past, it pleased Yahweh to bruise him. Oh, let me get that. Oh, this is Isaiah 53 and 10. This is Isaiah chapter 53 and verse 10. It says, Yet it pleased Yahweh to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, He shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahweh shall prosper in his hand. Let me read that again. Isaiah 53 and verse 10. Yet it pleased Yahweh to bruise him. Now this is speaking of Yahushai. You know, Yahushai in his lifetime committed no sin. But yet, Isaiah 53 and 10 says, yet it pleased Yahweh to bruise him. So when Yahushai was on that cross, or even before the cross, man, when he was getting scourged, when he was beaten, before he was even put on the cross, it pleased Yahweh to do that. That is a terrifying thought, because Yahushua didn't sin in that lifetime, but yet we know through the Spirit that in his previous incarnations, such as Adam, Isaac, as Solomon, Yahushua went off and he done sins in those lives, and he had to pay for those sins when he came back in the flesh as Yahushua. So it pleased Yahweh to bruise him, and that is the Most High's only begotten Spirit, the Son of Yahweh, Yahushua. So if his own Son, it pleased him to bruise, how much more us? How much more the people in the world? How much more even the wicked, which are you got the sons of God, which are the Israelites, the sons of men, which is the other nations, and the sons of the wicked, which is Esau, the nation of Edom. If he's gonna do, and look at how Yahweh punished us for our sins. Deuteronomy 28:15 on down. We've gone through all those curses. It pleased Yahweh to bruise us. So back to the situation. We're in a street teaching. Street fight ensues in front of us at the camp. Fist fight. Guy gets knocked down. Then he gets booted in the head, knocked out cold, blood pouring out his head. Did it not please Yahweh to bruise that man? So my point is that it's best not to get involved in stuff like that when you're at the camp. When you're at the camp, your carnal mind might think to yourself, hey, you know what, man? Let me jump in and separate these guys. But you don't know what spirit's on those men, and you don't know what judgment Yahweh himself has sent forth for this person this day. Because you hear about it all the time. You hear about it all the time. There's an argument. Some random stranger tries to be Bobby Big Balls, stepping in a situation, ends up getting stabbed, dies. Or ends up getting into the situation, gun gets pulled out, bang, 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 he dies. And then everybody's like, oh, he was such a good person, he was just trying to help, and he was an innocent bystander and he got caught up. No. In this life, you need to realize there's no such thing as an innocent bystander. No such thing. Job 4 and 7 says, Job 4 and 7 says, remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? See, so if it's the will of the Most High for you to perish, that's your lot. That's your lot. Therefore, it's not wise to get involved in other people's shit, essentially. Let me get this precept. I've got another one. Oh, yeah, this is beautiful, man. This is Proverbs, the 26th chapter and the 17th verse. Proverbs 26 and 17 says, he that passeth by and meddleth with strife belonging not to him is like one that taketh a dog by the ears, as a madman who casteth firebrands, arrows, and death. You know, let me read that again. Proverbs 26 and verse 17. He that passeth by and meddleth with strife belonging not to him is like one that taketh a dog by the ears. Now imagine trying to grab a Rottweiler dog by the ears. What would that dog do to you? turn around and bite your ass up, man. So you're not supposed to meddle in a matter that belongeth not unto you. You know, and again, being in the world, being carnal, we kind of think, oh yeah, I want to help, I want to do this, I want to do that. That's your flesh. You know, you have that instinctive tendency to want to do that. But when you come out of the world and you come into this truth and you become more spiritually minded, then you realize, hey, you know what, man? The judgment of the Lord is the judgment of the Lord. And whether I like it or not, who am I to speak against it? Who am I to oppose it? You know? So therefore, let me get another precept. It's like it bear me. Yes. I'm going to read these precepts. This is Sirach 8 and verse 1. This is Sirach 8 and verse 1, and it says, strive not with a mighty man, lest thou fall into his hands. Sirach 8 and verse 3. No, that's not what I want, Salakia. Sirach 8 and verse 16 is what I want. Sirach 8 and verse 16, it says, strive not with an angry man, and go not with him into a solitary place, for blood is as nothing in his sight, and where there is no help he will overthrow thee. Let me read that again. Strive not with an angry man, and go not with him into a solitary place, for blood is as nothing in his sight, and where there is no help he will overthrow thee. So basically, this guy had a demon on him, and he was fighting this guy, beat him to his knees, then booted him in the head, kicked him straight in his face. The man was out cold, blood pouring out of his head. And we had to see that judgment play out before our eyes. Now, that could have been any one of us. It could have been any one of us brothers who ended up getting into that fight, getting kicked in the head, laid out cold on a pavement, and then